All right. Assalamu alaikum. We're going to try to get started, just to be respectful of your time. We'll start off first with the Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim, ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Ameen. All right, alhamdulillah. All right, the topic for tonight is division, a weapon of the system. So we're going to look at different ways in which the system divides us. All right? But before we get started with that, we're going to start off with a warm-up. It's not like doing little warm-ups, get the brain juices going. All right? So here we go. Our first warm-up for today. This is a show called, I'll try to stand over here. This is a show called Brain Games, all right? And they do a lot of things with showing you how the brain works, because this system has studied the brain for a very long time, all right? So it's kind of interesting to see some of the things that they found out about the human brain, okay? And they do this so that they know how to manipulate us, all right? But here's the first thing. This thing is called inattentional blindness. Inattentional blindness. So check this out.
Bombarded by the brain is constantly bombarded by far more information than it can handle. If we tried to process all of it, we'd be completely paralyzed. As a result, we have to attend to only a small part of what's in front of us at any given moment. Sometimes attention can fail if we lose focus. This is what happens in what we call inattentional blindness.
Pay attention. You're about to be tested. For this game, you get to be the referee and judge whether the kicker is able to put the football between those two yellow uprights, 20 yards away. Tracking a small moving object.
All right, so for the ladies in the audience, this is what we call a field goal. All right? This first guy, he's going to hike the ball to the second guy here. Then this third guy here is going to kick the ball. He's going to try to kick the ball in between those two yellow goalposts. All right? And in football, if they make it, it's worth how many points? Let me see what lady in here knows. it's worth 3 points. All right, 3 points. All right, here we go. Let me show you this. All right.
It might be difficult, so watch the ball closely.
Now we want to see if you can tell if the ball goes through those goalposts. All right, here we go. Let's see if the kick is going to be good or not. They hiked it. He kicks. It didn't look like it went in. Not to you. All right, here we go. Let's see.
So, was the field goal good or not?
Here's those from another angle. Y'all said y'all don't think it went in, but let's see. Yep, it went straight through. It went straight through. All right, but watch this.
Pretty easy, right? But while you were watching the kick, did you happen to notice which cheerleaders took off their tops?
Oh, Lord.
If you're looking for the rewind button, don't worry. We'll do it for you. Yep.
So, how many people saw the cheerleaders take their shirts off? Okay, why didn't you see it?
Because you had their focus on the kick.
Focused on the kick. All right, and this is another example of what the system does. They call it misdirection. They have you so focused on other things that you're not paying attention to the important things that's really going on. All right? Now watch it. Watch these girls.
While you were zeroed in on the kick, you missed 3 cheerleaders stripping down at the bottom of the screen. Don't be surprised if you missed it. We took advantage of a loophole in your brain. If you could rewind real life, you'd be shocked at how often inattentional blindness causes you to miss things happening right in front of your eyes.
Now it's funny, I did this with the kids at school, some 8th graders. They saw the girls right away. Because their attention was on them the whole time. All right? So here we go.
Have you ever...
This next thing I want to show you.
Neuroscientist Bo Lotto.
Another part of the warm-up.
We've got a quick question for you about these two squares.
Now, his question about these two squares, he's going to say, is the top one darker than the bottom one? Oh, you put it, okay. Dark.
That could be the bottom one at the top, and the other one at the bottom.
Okay, well, let's just look at it as, in this sense right here, as the top one and the bottom. All right? So, are they different colors?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go.
True or false? This top one here is a darker gray than the bottom one. Pretty obvious, right? Well, maybe not. Because the answer is actually false.
He said the answer false. Said they're not two different colors. They're saying those two squares are the same exact color. All right, let's see why. Let's see how.
They are exactly the same color. Still don't believe these two squares are the same shade of gray? This man, experimental neuroscientist Bo Lotto, is going to show you why your brain is constantly being fooled by what it sees. Take a look at the illusion again. If you want, try holding up one of your hands and block this section of the image.
I tried it. Any difference? Anybody see a difference? No? All right. Let's let them do it for you.
If you're having trouble seeing it, we'll help you out.
What about now? Right, so,
It's the angle
what?
that it's on.
Right, and it's dealing with shadow. So when he put that there, you can see that it was the exact same color. Okay?
Crazy, right? Take a look at this object.
All right, this is going to be our last one. I want you to see this basketball, all right?
Glance, and you know what it is. But how do you know what it is and where it's positioned in space? Well, let's break it down. The light reflected by this object is converted by your eyes into an electrical signal and is sent down a neurological pathway called the optic nerve to the back of your brain. Starting in this region, called the visual cortex, the image is cross-referenced with memory of past experiences stored throughout your brain as you try to identify the object. Once it's figured out what it is, your brain has to decide how the object is positioned in space, and one of its most reliable tools is to use shadows. Here's another illusion to show you how that works. Take a look at that basketball again. We're going to put it on the court and move it along a diagonal. Now we're going to add a shadow. It's still moving in the same way, right? Okay, so what if we change the position of the shadow?
So if they change the position of the shadow, what do you think was going to happen? Because right now that ball is just going on a diagonal. Rolling on a diagonal. And you put a shadow under it, same thing. But if he changes the position of the shadow, watch this.
And trick your brain into seeing the ball's motion differently? Does it look like the ball?
Now the ball looks like it's going what? Like it's flying in the air. It's not it's not changed. It's still doing the same exact thing. The only thing they did was add a shadow in a different position, and now it looks like the ball is going in the air.
Off now.
But it's still rolling.
Let's tweak the shadow one more time. What's the ball doing now?
Bouncing.
Now it looks like it's bouncing.
Looks like it's bouncing, right? In a world with a single light source, your brain has learned to trust shadows as a near foolproof way to know the behavior of objects in space.
All right. So now that we warmed the brain up a little bit, just looking at a couple of things from brain games, let's get into the first part of this. The last time I was here, which was Sunday, we started talking about what we call digital heroin. And that's social media, internet, all of these things. They now call it digital heroin because it's so addictive. All right? But I want you to look at this one news story. All right? It's called Kids and Computers. When is it too much?
Are kids these days too dependent on technology? Everywhere you look, there are children with cell phones, little ones with tablets, even tweens with laptops. Is it starting to become overkill? We figured we just had to ask this question after the picture you see here went.
Now, this was the picture of a note that a little girl a 7-year-old gave to her parents. She said, if you put a password on that, I will make your life a nightmare. She threatened her parents. She said they put a password on the computer, she's gonna make their life a nightmare. Okay?
It's written by a 7-year-old who apparently demanded unrestricted internet access from her parents. It reads, if you put a password on that, I will make your life a nightmare. The spelling, as you see, not perfect, but her message is clear, and we're not sure what to make of that. But it does bring up a larger issue. Are kids spending too much time on the computer, dependent on it, and not enough time outside or pursuing other interests?
Former Arizona Attorney General Grant Woods, our guest today. You have an 8-year-old in your house.
Yeah.
Would you allow your 8-year-old to use a crayon to tell you off?
If she wanted her butt whipped, I mean, that'd be the end of her cell phone days or anything. I mean, that's a joke. I mean, just the disrespect and you kidding me? I mean,
you can't even spell, but you're going to tell your parents, you know?
they should. They ought to take the phone away and work on the spelling.
Yeah.
She's missed a few sessions, I think.
It's one of those things. I know Sean, and we debated this. I have 7-year-olds, and I'm telling you, my daughters know better than to come at us like that. They're always like, what's your password? We're not telling you our password.
Yeah. Well, you know, on the other hand, there's a respect issue, and do they have too much technology? Yeah, a lot of kids do. It's up to the parents to decide when you're going to give them this technology or that technology. But having said that, you can't ignore it. I mean, they need to be proficient on computers, and they're going to want to be able to have their music and things like that. I don't think that means that necessarily they need to be texting when they're 7, 8, 9 years old, but you have to figure that out. And there's a lot of peer pressure and a lot of pressure because the other kids have it on the parents. How come you're being the loser parents who won't let me do that? But at the end of the day, you got to be the parent, not the friend.
Yeah, let me tell you, if I got that note from my daughter when she was 7, she would have zero access to the internet.
No, that's an easy answer there. You just take it.
But now you think about it. Not just the children, we're addicted to it too. All right. Right? So we're all addicted to it. It's like we even put our lives in danger sometimes when we're driving. We have to pull it out. All right? And we have to go and see, make a phone call or text somebody. Putting our lives in danger. And that shows you an addiction. Mm-hmm. You're willing to jeopardize your life behind a text message. Mm-hmm. All right? Or somebody else's life. Exactly. Go ahead, brother.
You're on the news one night, this is some time ago. I forgot what city it was in, but people be texting going down the street. So there were so many accidents where so many feet before you get to the intersection, they got the whole pavement lit up. So while they're texting and looking down, they say, oh, and so then they can look up before they get hit by a car.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah.
There was a video on what the kids like to watch. They call it World Star. Lady going across the street, looking at her phone. Car came, knocked her. She flew in the air because she's not paying attention. Mm-hmm. We're so caught up, and just how dangerous the world is now. Why do you want to be walking down the street not paying attention? Mm-hmm. Okay, but now check this out. The next thing I want to show you is something from one of the founders of the social media. All right, but listen to what he says. This is interesting. All right, let's
founders of Facebook. The site's first president, Sean Parker, is now admitting that Facebook was designed to be addictive, and he's now worried about what that means for our children's brains.
He admitted that it was designed to be addictive. Okay? So this is by design. All right? They monopolize our time with this. This is time we could be studying or praying. All right? But we're so caught up in this addiction. All right? But now, well, let me let you hear a little bit more what he said.
Rashid is here with the story. Good morning, Ariel.
Good morning to you, George. Anyone who uses social media might admit it can be hard to tear yourself away. Now the former head of Facebook says that's exactly what the founders intended. And like the site he helped create, this morning, he has our attention. He's the billionaire brainiac who helped launch Facebook, otherwise known as the guy Justin Timberlake played in the social network.
Drop the just Facebook.
But now, former Facebook president Sean Parker is sounding the alarm about the potentially addictive nature of social media.
Like, what is that doing to people's brain?
Speaking at an Axios event Wednesday, Parker, who worked with Mark Zuckerberg to develop Facebook, with a bombshell claim, saying the site was intentionally built to hook you.
That thought process was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. It's a social validation feedback loop because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology.
The 38-year-old mogul admits he, along with other pioneers of social media, knew what they were doing.
We understood this consciously, and we did it anyway.
Facebook estimates its more than 2 billion users spend about 50 minutes per day on its apps, including Instagram and Messenger.
It literally changes your relationship with society, with each other.
While the medical community has yet to classify social media as addictive like alcohol or gambling, one recent study found that participants who appeared to use social media most compulsively showed changes in the part of the brain that controls impulse.
It's much more helpful to say, look, we're very vulnerable to this. It acts on us in many ways, in the ways addictive substances will.
As for Parker, he now calls himself a conscientious objector to the site he helped create.
Will you post on Facebook again? Of course. No, I post on Facebook all the time. I post on. I use these platforms. I just don't let these platforms use me.
Now, Parker left Facebook in 2005 and now runs his own cancer research institute. He says he's now cut back his social media use because it's too much of a time sink. Irony there. We reached out to Facebook for comment. So far, we have not heard back.
Now, the other thing about this. Oh, go ahead, Aki.
Alaikum
salam.
We were talking about the phone reaching a level of being an addiction. At the schools that I teach at, the students aren't allowed to bring the phones in the classroom.
Okay.
They bring the phone. If you catch them with the phone, you're supposed to take the phone, give it back at the end of the day. If they refuse to give you the phone, they get suspended. Probably 50% of the kids would rather be suspended.
Exactly.
Get their phone up for 2 or 3 hours.
Exactly. But now the other thing about this, the other part of this is, these things are nothing but tracking devices.
Yep.
They know where you're at all times. They know all about you from this phone. Okay? All your information, the websites you visit, right? The websites, your text messages, your emails, all of that is recorded. And that's why this was made to be addictive, so that you'll have it with you at all times. One of the founders said, he said, you know it's an addiction when you get up in the morning and you're in bed with your spouse, and the first thing you do is check your phone. see your text. Or you go to sleep with it. Exactly. And the other thing, too, is the scientists have been reporting that there's a lot of radiation that comes from these phones. And by males putting it in their pocket, then it could, cut down the sperm count, right? But one of the things is this. One of the goals of the elite is to reduce what? Population. Exactly.
Right.
All right? So they have a lot of things going on to help reduce population. One of the big things, one of the big weapons that they use now is what? Homosexuality.
Because if I turn you against your mate, you will not what? Reproduce. Okay? And that's why we're being bombarded with it. Every show you turn on is some, yep. Right? They have a show on, I think it's ABC Family. Okay? ABC Family. It's called The Fosters. And they had the first kiss between two 13-year-old boys on this show. Okay? Think about the titles of the television shows that we watch. There was a show that came out, it's been canceled now, but it came out a while ago. One of the ladies might be familiar with, Nene Leakes was on it. It was called The New Normal. All right? The New Normal. They're telling you what's normal now. Okay? The other one is called what? Modern Family. And all of these shows have strong involvement with homosexuality. Okay? So, you know, the push is there. And the thing is that they want to normalize it to the children. See, when we're at home and we put Empire on, and our kids are watching that, right? But brother, I'm going to tell you this. I was in the computer room. There was a little girl. She had to be in either first or second grade. I can't remember right now. I think she was in second grade. I was helping her get on something on the computer. And she turned up and she looked at me just like this. She said, Mr. Abdul, she said, did you see Empire last night? Last night was a 2-hour season finale. And I'm like, this is a baby watching this stuff. Okay? So by me being in the education field, I see the effects of all of this stuff that's going on. And remember, television, another name for a television show is a television program. Because they're programming you what to believe. They're programming you what to accept. Okay? So it's very important that we, and I'm going to show you a couple of pieces on this. Because I'm going to take my time on this journey a little bit. So get ready, y'all. Strap yourselves in. We're going on it. All right? But here's another thing I want to show you real quick. I did want to show you something else on the social media, but I think you kind of get the point with that. But I want to show you this. Because it's going to start leading into our topic about division. All right? But I want you to see this first. And everything that I show you, there's a purpose and a reason. Because I'm leading you up to something. All right? But watch this.
That guy was just charging at me. He was on something.
When Clarissa Vidrio got into her car at her Anaheim apartment complex around 11:30 Saturday night, she never saw this coming.
And then all of a sudden, on the rearview mirror of my vehicle, I see this naked guy just running towards my neighbor's car, which was parked right next to me.
Police say security tape shows 21-year-old Garrett Smith throwing himself into her neighbor Charlie Barnes' minivan, shattering the glass.
Our neighbor, told me the story and I didn't believe her at first.
Vidrio panicked.
Once he fell back, I was scared, I was shocked, I didn't know what else to do, so I backed up.
Right into her neighbor's fence. As she tried to get away, the suspect charged at her.
That's when he jumped on my vehicle, the whole body in the front of my windshield.
Terrified, Vidrio stepped on the gas.
Once I turned and bumped into my neighbor's van, that's when I saw the guy flying off the car.
The only way she knew to shake him was to slam into this wall. She called 911, and the suspect took off running.
I was scared. I literally thought I was going to die that day.
What's your name? What?
Now, this is a drug, a synthetic drug that's called Flocka. All right? Powerful. It's called Flocka. All right? Oh, well, this stuff is, but did you see the strength that guy had to have had to break through the back window of the car like that? And, right. Okay. Right. Well, just look at a couple of these. You're right. But that's exactly what it's like. It's this man is Look at this. Look at this.
I see you.
All right. So
I see you. I promise to God I see you.
And I mean, if you see some of these people look like monsters. They're acting like monsters. Go ahead.
But what about the ones that they stuff their tickets in? And the car moving, they jump out the car while the car's moving.
Oh yeah. But one of the first cases when they were talking about this, but they were calling it bath salts back then. Right. Where the guy ate the homeless man's face off.
Yes.
Okay? He was high on this, stripped, and then attacked the homeless man and ate his face off. Okay? But they call it the $5 insanity drug. Okay? But listen to this news report carefully and listen to what they're saying.
It's a raging drug epidemic, and South Florida is ground zero.
Tonight, CBS 12's Lauren Hills gives us a rare and unfiltered look at how this drug is ravaging our communities, stretching our cops to the brink, and costing all of us who could fall victim to a flocker user's insanity.
John and Liz, it was eye-opening to see the impact of what this drug is doing firsthand. It is sad, it's scary, and it's happening in our own backyard.
I love smoking. Heartbreaking. It makes me feel good. I have a close friend that's on it. Oh, it's just all about old flocker. Yeah, pump that. But it's how you use it.
These are the faces, the real people behind the headlines of a new designer drug hitting South Florida called Flocka.
Sorry. These are the faces. All right? Right. These are the faces. Okay? So you gotta listen carefully to how the programming goes. Okay? Because like I said, they control your perception of reality. They control your perception of yourself. And when you allow somebody to control the perception of yourself, they got you. You're all messed up. Okay?
No one knows it better than Sergeant Ozzie Tianga of the Broward County Sheriff's Office.
I have people that smoke crack cocaine for 15, 20 years saying, crack don't get me high no more. I need Flocka.
Flocka is a synthetic drug made and legal in China. It has made its way here in the last year or so.
You could put it in water and drink it what you drink. You could take it as a tablet, as a pill. You could snort it, you could smoke it, you could inject it.
Known as the $5 insanity, it is a cheap, intense high that brings on delusions, paranoia, and raises body temperature so much, users often rip off their clothes. In Boca Raton, this man running naked across the road was likely on it, and so was this one, caught streaking through the streets of Fort Lauderdale.
It's more like dealing with somebody with a severe mental illness rather than a drug addiction.
Sergeant Tianga took us to some of the Flocka hotspots in northern Deerfield, not far from Palm Beach County. This user admitted he shot up Flocka just an hour before. It was hard to believe he would even talk to us.
Now, if I can use it daily, I'll do it daily. If I can use it hourly, I use it hourly.
Sergeant Tianga says no drugs were found on him at the time. We moved on.
So this is, it's a lot going on here, y'all. I mean, especially like if you smell, you can probably sometime in the neighborhood smell the stuff that they're smoking. It smells horrible. It smells like a skunk. You know, my mom, she complains, she's, oh yeah, I can, you know, it comes through, the neighbor smoking and it comes through the walls. Okay?